sports days, children's sports days, and whether or not children's sports days should be rewarding everybody who takes part, as an awful lot of schools do, or should the ones who do best get the medals, gold, silver and bronze? Or is it unfair on the kids who may not be very sporting, who may not ever win any medal, because it does kind of affect your outlook on life, that you don't think you're good enough if you never win anything. And I was that kid when I was at school. Never won a bloody thing. Couldn't win a race to save my life. And when I hear of schools that are prepared to reward all children and treat all children equally, I think that's a great thing.
You would, because you're a non-achiever, I suppose.
No, in sport I was.
Yeah, you were. And you know what? I'm quite lucky in that when I was in school, the one thing that I excelled in, and there wasn't much I excelled in, but the one thing I excelled in because of my long legs was I was a great runner. And I would always win like the relay races and stuff like that. So I have at home, I have a box in my mother's attic that has all my medals from school. You probably don't even possess that box, do you?
I don't have any medals. I never won a medal ever.
It's very sad, that is. My heart bleeds for you.
Don't be so patronising. Some kids just aren't very sporting. Yeah? And those kids always go to sports day and always feel, I don't really want to go to sports day because I'm not going to win anything. That leaves a bit of a sting when you're forced to take part in the sports day. But in other words, I never became an athlete because I'm not good at it. That was my choice. But when it came to sports day, I was there, took part in the races, but always knew I was going to come last or second last.
Okay, so you were like Ireland when they go to the Euros or the World Cup. You were just there to fill the numbers in. Is that correct?
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I am taking the mick out of you, but I'm not really, because we had kids in our class as well when we were in school that there are certain kids who aren't into sport, okay? They're not sporty, they're not athletic, and they've no interest in sport, and sport should not be forced upon them. And if they don't want to partake in a sports day, they can stay at home that day or whatever. But I think, and by the way, I'm going to give you figures on this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have kids in school, that's going to shock you all about competitive sports days in schools. I'm a firm believer in competitive sport when it comes to kids, because I think kids need to learn about winning and losing, because Jesus, it's a tough life out there, kids. And you are going to lose a lot of times. You are going to win a lot of times. There's always going to be people in life. And this isn't just go about school and grades. This is in business, going for jobs, trying to hook up with a girl. There's always someone who's going to get there before you. There's always someone who's going to be better than you in no matter what you excel in. And that is a lesson that you need to learn very, very soon in life. And I remember...
so you believe it is a useful lesson that I look back on sports days in school and have no fond memories of them because I didn't enjoy them. Do you think that's a good lesson to learn, do you?
Mommy and Daddy Kennedy should have just kept you at home if you had no interest in sport.
But everybody from the school went to sports day.
And has it mentally scarred you that you never got a medal? Here's the thing: we enrolled my young fella in a GAA club, great GAA club, about a year ago. And before he was enrolled in that club, he thought he was the best GAA player ever. Now I knew he wasn't, because I could see what he was doing. He wasn't even able to solo the ball, but he thought he was great in GAA. And he quickly found out within a couple of weeks that there were young fellas the same age as him that were much better at GAA, that were able to solo the ball and kick the ball over the bar for a point. And that is after teaching him a valuable lesson, that no matter how good you think you are, there are people who will be better than you. And you have to, the one thing I believe in teaching children is that you have to teach children that they have to earn things, that things are not handed to them on a plate. And that is the problem with this generation of kids. And I'm talking about even teenagers nowadays who believe that everything should be handed to them. The entitled generation that we have now, who just believe that everything should come to them easy. Well, I've news for you. Life isn't easy.
Okay, well, give me those statistics that shows that a huge percentage of primary schools now run non-competitive sports days. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. So this is in the UK. This was started a couple of years ago in the UK by you know the usual group, the group of people who want to sugarcoat the world, and they want to wrap children in cotton wool because God forbid our children should be offended by not winning a medal. Poor John didn't win the relay medal. His life is ruined. He should leave that school. Winning is banned in more than half of primary school sports days in the UK. Just think about that for a moment. Over half of primary schools in the UK are now holding non-competitive sports.
And I think that's great. I have to be honest. I think it's great. I think it is to try and encourage all children to take part in sports days rather than dread a sports day. And there is a reason that we wanted to talk about this, and it is a message that we got yesterday from Jerry. And here's what Jerry said. Lads, can you talk about sports days in school? My son is in senior infants in school in Swords. His sports day is this Friday, and we got an email today to say that the school is removing medals from sports day to be more inclusive. Basically, it's become non-competitive now. We are raising snowflake children, says that message. And I'd love to hear from you on 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note that has just come in to us from Sarah, who says that her son's school has come up with a great solution.
In my son's school for Sports Day, they do a really great thing like an Olympics. And there's 10 teams or whatever, and each team has a certain amount of kids from each class. And everyone gets points, no matter where they finish in the races or the relays or whatever. And then at the very end, one country wins the Olympics. But there's no medals or anything. It's just to say, oh, well, our team got the most points. But it's great for kids like that would be the last or the slowest, because they still get points for their team, and they can still say, oh, well, I got this many points or whatever, which I think is a great way to do it.
And it sounds like a great way to do it. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. Do you agree with the idea of having non-competitive sports days? Days where children take part in the sports, but everybody wins a little something. Jeremy says, no, you should kick their arse up the field. And you see, here's the thing, Jeremy. When it comes to your own children, and I can tell you this for a fact.
Stop twisting my words.
When it comes to your own children, I know if one of your kids does really bad at sports day, never wins a medal, and nearly dreads going because they're one of the worst in their class, your opinion will change overnight.
No, it won't. And you know what we need to do then? If you believe that competitive sport should be taken out of schools, then why do we even have exams? Because God forbid little Aoife, who's not very good at Irish, God forbid the teacher should give her a D. That could ruin Aoife's
Slightly
life.
different,
No,
by
it's
the way.
not
It's slightly
No,
different. You're hang on for
No,
one
it's not
second.
different.
Hang on. Doing exams is totally different to running down a pitch, down through a field, having an egg and spoon race, and you're always Paddy last.
Some people...
That's public. That's in front of everybody.
Oh my God, will you listen to what I'm saying? Some people are gifted academically, okay? I wasn't gifted academically in school, okay? I was a very marginal student in school. I got C's. I never excelled, as you can probably tell. I can't even string a sentence together, but I never excelled in school. Should the lads that were in my class in school who got straight A's, should they have felt bad because they got A's and I only got C's in science? And absolutely not. It's bullshit. I'm sorry, it's bullshit. And we need to call out bullshit on this snowflake generation that is raising a generation of children who aren't going to be able for the real world, because God forbid Aoife gets a D in Irish. Should the school be sued because Aoife got a D in Irish?
Now you're getting ridiculous.
No, the point I'm trying to make is very valid, is that some kids are gifted academically, yeah? And some kids are gifted in a physical sense, okay? We should nurture those gifts that children have. Every child, by the way, is gifted in some way.
All right, let's bring in some calls on this. Our number, and I want to run a WhatsApp poll.
Yeah.
And here's the question that I want to ask you. Do you support schools running non-competitive sports days? So in other words, it's a day where everybody in the school will win something, or get a certificate or whatever. Do you support schools running non-competitive sports days? Send a yes or no to 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. Just yes or no to that question. Do you support schools running non-competitive sports days? Let me go to Lauren. Good morning to you, Lauren.
Hey, morning.
Now, it's actually your child's school sports day today, is that right?
Yeah, my two younger kids, it's their sports day today. Now, like, my kids, my son, when he was in primary school, they did medals for first, second, third, and I think fourth maybe. And I think that was fine. Like, but my son, and none of my kids are not athletic whatsoever, and my son has never, I think he won one medal in sports day in first or second class, and that's the only medal he's ever won in any kind of sport. But like, he was delighted because he earned that medal, and he felt so great about himself that he actually won that medal and he earned it. And, you know, he would win every year in school. He would win awards for his maths.
Okay, but isn't that the point? That I think back to when I was at school, I don't think I ever won an egg and spoon race, let alone
I never won anything in sports in school. And yeah, I do remember it. But at the same time, like, why would I teach my kids that if they don't even have to try and they will still be rewarded? Like, I don't. Like, my daughter got an award for something they did, and she came home. She was like, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant. She goes, oh, Mommy, everybody got one, like, so I didn't win it, like, you know. So they know when they don't. They know even if they get a medal or they don't get a medal. They know if they won it or they're just giving it. They do. And to be honest with you, I think sometimes, especially the older kids, maybe not the junior and senior infants, but the older kids, I think that makes them feel worse about getting a medal. You know, they feel like, oh, I'm just after getting this just to, like, you know, I didn't even earn it, and it makes them feel crap. Like, that's the way my son had felt about it.
So,
like,
what do you think they actually feel worse if they get a certificate or whatever for taking part?
Yeah, it's a pat on the head.
Well, my
patronising.
daughter got certificates, and when the whole class got them, and she just kind of rolled her eyes at me and said, "Oh my God, Mammy, everybody got one. Like, I didn't win it." You know, so yeah, that's the way she felt about it. Like, she knew she didn't win it. I mean, there's always those kids. When my son was and my daughter were in primary school, there was always the same kids that came in first every single time in every single race. There was no one else going to win them. But what they used to say was like, okay, well, this time we're going to do our best to catch up with you. And they'd have a bit of... Nobody felt bad. Like, my son is terrible at sports. Like, he would nearly always be last, or he'd always be the worst, like, at the sports. But he excelled at maths and science, and that's where he won his award. So he was never really interested in sports, but he just would have fun on the day.
Yeah.
You know?
You see, like I said, for me anyway, as a kid, going to sports day was something I dreaded because I knew I was always going to come last or second last or whatever. That's not great for young children's confidence. That is, by the way, one of the reasons that schools are going this way, making sports days not something for a child to dread.
Yeah, well, my daughter, they did a marathon. The whole school did a marathon, and each class had a certain amount of laps, and they would all be added up to make up to 26.2 miles. And, you know, my daughter would come home every day and she'd go, oh, I did 12 laps today, and tomorrow I'm going to try and do 14 laps. And that's the way, you know, she felt good about herself. She was trying to beat her own time, knowing that, you know, she wasn't anywhere near the top of the class or anything, but she just concentrated on herself. And that's what I tried to say to her. If you feel like you put the best effort forward and you tried your best, well, that's your best, and you should be proud of it. And every year try and, you know, do better than your last, you know, best, and work at it that way, because, you know, my kids aren't going to win anything, like, you know, in anything like that. So that's the way.
Okay, so your argument is that kids know if they won without really winning, and it's not a bad thing for kids to be competitive.
Yeah, well, apart from junior infants, maybe junior infants wouldn't have a clue, maybe, like. But yeah, definitely the older kids. I know with my kids, they would just roll their eyes if they came home and I said, "Oh, well done, that's brilliant," and all. They were like, "No, yeah, well, I didn't really earn it," you know. So, that's the way I've seen with my kids.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, and Jeremy, this applies to you. I genuinely believe that if your child comes home from sports day next year or the year after, Daddy, why don't I win anything? Daddy, how come I'm so bad at racing?
No. I've already told Luke about this because children are arranged in schools by age and stuff like that. Luke is one of the youngest in his school because he's a December baby. So he is in, there are young fellas in his class who are like 10 months older than him. And when you are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months is a big change. So he is probably, when it comes to physical stuff, an underachiever in his class because all the young fellas are 10 months older than him and the girls are as well. So he is always trying to do catch up, but he knows about winning and losing. When I play video games with him and he loses, he understands the concept of losing and that you lost. So you try again harder the next time. What are we doing to children? Well, what are we turning children into?
085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. The question that we're asking you is, do you support schools having non-competitive sports days? 085 825 2626. Now, Eddie, good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian. You well?
Good, thanks, Eddie. Well, Eddie, do you like the idea of non-competitive sports days?
Adrian, I can see both sides of it, right? But from my experience, I was that child that wasn't academic. Right, so that one day of the year on the sports day, that's when I was the number one pupil. You know, that's when I raced and I was a good sprinter.
Okay, so sports day actually was something you liked. So you weren't like me. You weren't like me.
No, but I'll say to you now, you said you didn't like sports day. Would you have liked it if you were given a medal for coming last?
I'd like to have gotten something out of sports day. I don't know what that. I don't know what that something is. But I can honestly tell you, in all the years in primary school that I went to sports day, I have nothing to show for it. I may as well not have been there.
Adrian, I won every year. I've nothing to show for it now.
Why? Where are your medals gone?
Who keeps medals? They get lost over the years, you know. But that was the one day of the year that I looked forward to. That I was the star pupil in the class. Because I wasn't very academic. But I can understand both sides of the coin, being that kid that he's never going to win. But like Jeremy says, every kid has a quality. But also I can understand rewarding them all when they're in like infancy up to a certain age, but then you have to knock that on the head. You know what I mean? Like when a kid comes home at 4 or 5 and you have a medal, or that's grand because like they don't know any better. But kind of gradually phase that out as they get older.
Okay, so you believe that you believe competition is very important for kids as they go through life, but you would say that because you won all the medals that I never won.
Even if I was last, I'd say that.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't.
It's a dog-eat-dog life. You can't reward people all the time for being terrible at something. You know what I mean? You can't just say, well, we're going to keep rewarding you as you get older. I don't mind doing it with the infancies, low babies.
Okay, but one of the things that I said is that I never went on to become an athlete because I had a choice and I decided I didn't want to become an athlete. But when it comes to sports day, all kids are expected to take part. That's the point. And then some kids
on to be an athlete. You know what I mean? I was good at sports, but I never went on to bloody be an athlete. Well, I'm just saying, like. That was the one day of the year where I was a star pupil. Yeah. And I took pride in that.
You shouldn't feel guilty about it. And the argument that Adrian is making is that people who are non-competitive in academic studies, people who are
I'm not making that argument.
You kind of are. People who are not good at geography or not good at languages.
Sorry, but when I was doing my leaving cert, which I didn't do particularly well at, I wasn't doing it in front of a field full of mammies and daddies and brothers and sisters. I was doing it sitting at a table on my own.
But you still
it wasn't a public thing.
So what are you saying, Adrian?
I used to find sports day almost humiliating because I did so bad.
Why didn't you stay
because
at home?
all kids are expected to be there.
You
don't get a day off.
You could have been sick that day.
Every single year. Don't be stupid now. This is something that all kids are expected to take part in. And when you're so bad at it, and I wasn't the only one that was bad. We all had.
We get that. We get that. You become so.
There's a public humiliation about that.
Oh my God! You become so woke.
Adrian,
you become so woke.
There's not a public humiliation.
There is when you keep coming last.
They're looking. Yeah, but you're thinking in your own mind. Those parents aren't looking, going, laughing at a kid coming last. That's in your own mind.
But okay, that's my young mind. When I was a kid, I still remember it.
Yeah, so you're saying basically, if someone is not good in something in life, they should just abstain from it. So there's people out there that aren't very academic, so should we just not do exams? You know what I mean? It's just a part of school. It's a part of growing up. It toughens you up.
Yeah, like,
You know, it doesn't mean you don't take part.
And even in the workplace now, with our previous employer, you would have every 3 months or every 6 months, I can't remember what it was, you would have progress reports. Remember when they used to send out emails, Adrian, they'd say, how well are you doing and what areas can you improve on? Did you get upset about that when there were areas you couldn't improve on?
No, because it was something I felt I could improve on.
Whereas sport, you were never going to be good
Nah.
at. Well, even what's the one where they grab you by the legs and run down? You're not even good at that.
No, the wheelchair race.
Yeah.
No, even worse
Adrian,
than that.
in sport, you can always improve.
Or the wheelbarrow race, sorry.
In sport, you can always improve on your last time. You've always got a target to beat, you know?
Nobody is making fun of children here who come last.
Yeah.
Okay, someone has to come last in everything. And Jesus, I mean, Adrian, also in our radio career, we've come last many. No, but we've come last many times. You know, we have had really bad ratings. We've had really good ratings. You take the good with the bad, and you take the bad with the good.
But what if it's always bad? What if you never succeed? Go back to that article that you were quoting there a couple of minutes ago about schools and non-competitive sports days.
Yes.
Explain to me why they're doing it.
It says more than half of primary schools are holding non-competitive sports days that fail to announce winners. They host events where individual children are not singled out to compete, but instead work in teams and are recognised simply for taking part. So
Correct. There you go.
Yeah.
And now I know. That makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense. Let's bring in some more of your WhatsApps. If you want to give us your opinion on this, send us a WhatsApp to our number just there, 085 825 2626. That's 085 825 2626. We'd love to get your opinion on this. Do you support schools having non-competitive sports days? So they're team days, basically. Pete sent us this.
What's the point in having sports day if you don't teach the kids to be the best they can be, to compete, to be the best at their sport? You know, if they have a natural talent at something, you're not helping them with it. They might think, well, what's the point? You know, this is why Ireland aren't even in the Euros.
Oh, this is why Ireland aren't even in the Euros.
No, but it's actually true. And I looking at the Euro matches this week, I was just thinking to myself, if Ireland had qualified for the Euros, it would have been great for us and all in the pubs and stuff like that. But
No, they wouldn't. We'd be outdoors.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. But we literally would have been there just to make up the numbers because we weren't at the races. And you know, but at least we would have been taking part.
Jim on our Facebook page wrote this. In Meet the Fockers, De Niro says that when he sees ribbons for 8th and 9th place, he asks, why celebrate mediocrity?
That's right.
It sends the wrong message.
Yeah, he goes into Gaylord, who's Ben Stiller. He goes into Gaylord Focker's house and realises that Gaylord Focker's parents, who was it, Dustin Hoffman and what's her name?
Yeah, come on anyway.
They've put up this big plaque on the living room, and their son was never competitive, and they have like ribbons for 8th and 9th place and medals for 10th place. And Robert De Niro's looking at it going, why did you give your son medals for failing? Because it is it not teaching children that you can do better next time?
Let's have a listen to another WhatsApp voice note. This is from Louise.
Sports Day is on Wednesday, and she's known about it the last 2 weeks, and every day for the last 2 weeks she has gone out to the field outside her house and has been running up and down and have me time her because she is adamant that she is going for the gold. This is the first year that they have a competitive one, and I'm all for it. There is children in our class who didn't win last year, and they had strokes that they didn't win. It's a part of life, I believe.
All right, it's a part of life.
Can I? I'll let you play one more voice note, and then I'll explain to you what a much bigger problem than Sports Day is for kids at the moment.
Okay.
Kevin believes you're very grumpy, by the way.
Okay, one final WhatsApp voice note from Kevin.
Morning, lads. How you doing? It's Kev here. Look, this thing about kids' confidence and a whole lot. Adrian, I don't know what side of bed you got out on this morning, but it was the wrong one. Here's the simple truth. The majority of kids don't care about sport. Right? It's that simple. they go to sports days because they have to go to sports days. They probably go and expect not to get anywhere because they know already who's the best in their class long before the sports day comes along. You have your jocks and you have your academics. A lot of children are academics and some children are jocks. They're good in sports. It's a simple fact of life and school, right? But then we have people like you and other parents who think, well, oh, my son, even though he's rubbish, he or she should be treated like a winner. They all should. And you give a child a false sense of security or belief that they're good at something when they're actually rubbish at it. And we send all these children full of false belief in what they can do out into the big bad world, and then we end up with snowflakes. And now as for that woman with the schooling that do the Olympics, my children do that. And all that is a manipulation of a software program. Because it's down to the honour system that if you have X amount of people on your team, and if one of them walks, say, a mile, to get X amount of miles or points for walking that mile. But you can also put down that the whole team ran that mile or walked that mile. Or they may not have walked it at all. The children have access to updating the system, the software. It's total rubbish. But anyway, stop promoting the snowflakes, Adrian. And it's not that hard a thing to comprehend. Some kids like sports, some kids don't. And the ones who don't already know they don't expect to win. It's the parents who are promoting this rubbish. Okay, have a good one.
Thank you, Kev.
Oh, yeah.